Okay, guys, so number one is why we should grow. Why we should grow. So, anybody thinks, do I have everybody with me here today that everybody thinks we should grow? I think everybody is with me, right? Anybody want to kind of disagree? I mean, feel free to. Okay, great. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move forward to principle 2. Okay, so if you would go back to that, if you don't remember it, go back to that schematic and just see. Okay, so number one is, do we want to grow? Okay, so what's number two? We're going to be exposed to things we don't know, all right? So you're here today. Hopefully you're being exposed to something new, and this is what we're going to talk about today, all right? So here we go. To grow, you have to be exposed to principles and ideas you do not currently know or apply. You know, a lot of people I talk to, I say, oh, hey, you know, have you heard of this thought? Have you heard of this principle? I say, yeah, it's not new. You know, oh, whatever, you know. But the question is, okay, fine, you know it. Are you applying it? You know, if you're not applying it, doesn't count, okay? All right. So how do we get exposed? You know, if we really have this passion now to grow, how do we get exposed? How do we do this? All right. I'm going to ask you now to flip to the first page of the binder. If you open the binder, there's a page that looks like this. That's right. If you can pull that out right now, okay. All right. Now at the end, I'm gonna ask you to make a commitment to yourself, not to me. On the left-hand column, I'm gonna say commit to 3 hours per week. All right. The first thing I'm gonna ask you to commit to is at least 1 hour. Now you may want to do more or less. That's up to you. All right. 1 hour. So hour one is be exposed to new growth promoting principles. If you really want to grow as a leader, as a person, okay, as a parent, as a husband, you know, you gotta be exposed. So I want you to commit to 1 hour, okay? So put this on the side for now because we're gonna look at it at the end. But for now, we're gonna start talking about, okay, you want to get exposed. Let's say you're gonna commit to that hour or maybe an hour a day. I don't know. All right. How do get exposed to the right things? So the first thing we're going to talk about is books. In my humble opinion, books by far are the richest source of new ideas. Okay, I'm going to give you just a little kind of hint here to reading books. All right, most books are about, you know, most books, how many pages do you think they are? Like, I'm not talking novels or, you know, I'm talking growth promoting books. Yeah, somewhere 100. You know, average, I'd say maybe a little bit more, maybe about 200, 250, you know, something like that. Some are 300, some are definitely 100, 150. I put here, you know, most books, just for my calculations to be right, Tamra, I put here 250 pages, okay? But you can recalculate this, all right? So if you pick up a book, all right, and here's how it works out. If you're going to read one book every 2 months, that's 4 pages a day. One book per month, that's 8 pages a day. One book for every 2 weeks, that's 16 pages per day. One book per week, that's 32 pages a day. Okay. Now I don't know the speed of your reading. You know, how many minutes does it take you guys to read a page? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a very fast reader, but you know, minute, 2 minutes, minute, 2 minutes. I mean, to me, it's somewhere between 1 minute to 3 minutes. You know, if it's taken us more than 3 minutes, we need to go back to reading. Okay? All right. So basically, if let's say worst case scenario, 3 minutes, okay. So you can read a book a month. You know, that's 8 times 3, that's 24. You know, you could do that. Anyway, you do the calculations based on the commitment that you want to do. Okay. All right. So, but it's doable. But we got to do it. We got to be committed. All right. Now. Number 2 point here, someone has had the challenge you have, solved it, and wrote about it. You just have to find the book they wrote, read it, and applied it. Here's the thing, guys. I went to 4 different high schools in 2 different countries, okay? And I went to 2 different colleges, one private, one public. I went to medical school, and I went to residency, okay? Nobody's ever told me that there's anything that I'm telling you about, that there are books out there that could propel you forward. All they could teach me was chemistry, biology, biochemistry, literature, and that's it. You know, there wasn't anything more. It's really a sad state, and I don't know why. I'm not into formal education. But what I want to convey to you guys is this: there are great books out there that have the answers to your problem. Okay, and that's a fact. There are spiritual books. There are, the book that we're going to be presenting to the material, Personality Plus. I mean, it's impacted our life in an amazing way, hasn't it? It's just one book. It's just one book. So I want you to know that fact because I was never taught that. Okay, and I want to convey that to you if you're not aware of it. Okay, so let me read you just a few things here. And by the way, when we talk here about, we're going to talk about exposing ourselves to new ideas and collecting them. The first two quotes here, I'm going to read them to you. A book holds a house of gold. Okay, isn't that beautiful? All right, that's the Chinese proverb. The sight of books removes sorrow from the heart. Okay, isn't that nice? Now, you know where I got these two from? From Twitter. Okay, all right. So I'm on a mission every day to being exposed to new things and collecting it. And it was so easy for me to put this here because I just went to my list. I'm going to show you my list in a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to share those principles with you as we go. All right. Erasmus says, if I have a little money, I buy books. And if any is left, I buy food and clothes. Okay? I mean, that's beautiful. And he was, he was an amazing theologian. And a president now, Harry Truman, he said, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. Okay? And then, so moving forward here, so books is number one. All right, guys? Number two, and real quick, digital media. Digital media are the two words there to fill in the blanks. Digital media, okay. Blogs, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm very excited that that we're going to be starting a leadership blog with Jennifer's help in the next month. Blog is kind of a new. Does anybody blog here? No? Okay, I don't either. So, but I'm going to start. All right, but there are great blogs. I've already signed up to 5 or 6, and they're great. But that's a source for you to be exposed. All right. Number 3. Number 3 is audio. All right, audio books, lectures, and podcasts. Okay, this is good for learning while driving. It's really sad how much we drive and all we listen to is country, and I love country music, and also I'm a musician. I love music. You know what I mean? I do listen to music, but we spend probably an hour a day. That's 7 hours a week. I mean, that's almost a part-time job. I mean, we could learn so much. So if you haven't done that, do that. I have here on my iPhone 160 lectures that I listen to. They're very edifying for me, and sometimes I listen to Beethoven. So now number 4 is conferences and seminars. Conferences and seminars, and I think those are good for networking as well as idea collection. Okay, so that's my thinking here. So last few nuggets here on reading. All right, the average American reads 1 book per year. 60% of those only get through the first chapter. All right, most CEOs of Fortune 500 companies read 4 to 5 books a month. All right, and I've read this multiple sources. These are the biggest companies in the world. They're top person, all right? And it's not, I don't think these guys are like, oh, I'm the CEO, now I'm going to start reading. No, these guys probably started 20 years before. That's how they got there. Okay, they developed themselves. Okay, guys? All right. Theodore Roosevelt, one of our presidents, read 1 book per day, all right? And studies show that active readers are likely to have annual incomes more than 5 times greater than those who spend little or no time in reading. All right? And Abraham Lincoln, as I said, had 1 year of formal education and credited his success to reading. Okay, guys, so have I made a compelling argument to read a little bit? All right? Okay. All right, sounds good. Okay. Now, the next group of people we need to, or the next, group that we need to get information from is people. Number 5, right there, people. Okay? All right. And that's really been great in my life. So who do I learn from? I put number 1 is anyone. Anyone. All right? Almost anyone can teach something because everyone is most likely ahead of you in an area. All right? Now, I've heard this before, and here in the last month I've been challenging myself. I said, look, you meet about, 30, 40 new people a day. They come in as patients, And I said, is this really true? And I experimented with it this last month. And I said, I'm going to try. And every person I talk to, I'm going to say, okay, what am I going to learn from this person? And it really made me actually listen better. I said, okay, because I was going to write it out. And I learned so much. Here in the last month, a lot of people went on nice vacations. So I learned so much about vacations. Okay, Destin and Florida and all that. But I learned something. It was something I don't know, okay? And it could be a kid. It could be, little kids, sometimes they come in. I'm like, okay, what can I learn? I don't have kids, so they may teach me something about a cartoon or something. Anybody can teach us something, Hopefully some of it is edifying. So, all right, guys, so anyone. Number 2, mentors, all right? Mentors. Has anybody here ever had a mentor? Like you say, hey, man, you're my mentor. Like there was that word exchanged. Anybody here? You had one? Okay, all right. Mentor is also a fairly new concept to me. Peter is my mentor, okay? I talk to him once a week, and I've been doing that for about 3 years, all right? The reason that he is my mentor is we agree on our value system. He wants to impact people, and I do. Our temperaments match. I'm a melancholy, as you'll learn here in a minute, and he's a sanguine, so he's a great encourager to me, okay? And he's a man of God. He's a pastor, all of that. It fits, okay? And he adds to my life. And he's really worked on himself, okay? And mentoring is not a kind of a crying session. I call him and say, oh, I have this problem. No. This is a session where, we're going to be being proactive. And, so if you haven't looked into mentorship, and I don't care where your station is in life, you should think about having a mentor, okay? Seriously, there are people that are ahead of you in some areas or not, okay? So think about that. Mentors. Now, there are books on that, and we can go over it more in detail, but we want coaches, all right? Coaches. Coaches, and I'm sorry, I didn't read here. The mentor says, people who are ahead of you in an area that can give you advice. Coaches are a little bit different now. The traditional understanding of a coach is a person who, like, say, run this way, do this, it's kind of, There's a new understanding of coaches that I've had to learn in the last few years. You can be a certified coach, okay? I'm not a coach. But basically what these people do, they're trained in asking you powerful questions and holding you accountable, okay? And we've experienced that a little bit at Total Care. We had a gentleman who was a pastor here. He came in one session and he helped us. He didn't give us any advice. It's really interesting. And at the beginning, you're like, what, you're not going to say anything? And it's kind of annoying at the beginning. But then they start asking you questions. Well, tell me why you're doing that, When do you think would you like to start that? And he starts asking those powerful questions, okay? And kind of really moves you forward. It's a really powerful tool and holds you accountable. That's key. Mentors, the bad thing about mentors is all about advice. And a lot of times, like, okay, I'm not there, you know what I mean? Can you listen to me a little bit? You know what I mean? So that's the bad thing with mentors. Coaches approach it in a different way. So anyway, we'll move on. So people, all right? So John Maxwell called the leaders of the biggest 10 churches in America when he was starting out. And he offered them $100 for 30 minutes of their time to learn from them. He was in his 20s, okay? John Maxwell. And he said, you know what? I want to be around great people. He would call them up and say, I want 30 minutes of your time. I'll pay you $100. That was in the 70s. Okay, that's equivalent to about $1,000. And I asked myself, and he was broke. I mean, the guy was a pastor, and my dad was a pastor, so I know about that. So he did that. I'm just giving you an example, all right? Okay, guys. Okay, so last thing here about people. When people are teaching you something, listen and say thank you. Don't defend, rebut, or argue. So the reason I put that here, a lot of time when people teach us something, we want to say, oh, yeah, I know, yeah. I've done that before. That's right. Let me tell you what and we want to start kind of, just listen, okay? Just listen. Just let them teach you. It could be 80% wrong, but it may be 20% right, okay? Stop talking. When you're talking, you're not getting anything new, okay? So we've got to, when people are teaching, okay, we've got to stop talking and just say thank you. You don't have to say, I don't agree, I mean, we all have the urge to say, no, I don't agree with this, it's this. Just say thank you, because the more you're going to argue back, they're going to stop teaching you, okay? All right, guys. Very good. And then let's take keep here, go to number 6. So thinking and writing is the next way to be exposed to new ideas. So we talked about books. We talked about people. okay? And now we're going to talk about thinking and writing. Now, thinking and writing, we're not going to spend a lot of time in there. But you could teach yourself. Have you ever tried to write something? Okay? Do it sometime if you haven't done it. Put a problem and start writing. You know what I mean? And then I was like, shoot, I'm pretty smart. You know, you try to figure out, I mean, things come out. You know, have you ever tried to write a diary or anything? It's really magical. You know what I mean? It comes out. Thinking, there's a big, huge topic on thinking, but thinking is not daydreaming and just like, oh, you know, please come to me. No, thinking is an active process, okay? What I do, and I mentioned a lot of John Maxwell because I look up to him, but he has a thinking chair, you know, and for 2 years I was on a thinking chair. I finally have a thinking chair. Okay, so Mom knows about my thinking chair. It's a rocking chair, it's very comfortable. It's actually my late dad's chair, okay? I put it in front of the window, okay? And this is my thinking chair. I sit in it to do active thinking. And the way I do thinking is I get a pad of paper and a pen. For some reason, when I just think, these thoughts just kind of go everywhere, okay? And I start writing, and I say, okay, I'm going to think about, let's say, Aspire. Well, what are we doing with branding? What are we doing here? What are we doing there? Okay, that's called active thinking, and you could really learn from active thinking, all right? All right, and number 7 is unconventional sources. You know, like, for example, movies, advertisements, TV shows, and interviews. I was supposed to erase that note, Young Victoria. That's supposed to be in my notes, not your notes. But I'll tell you about that. Have you seen that movie? What's it? The Young Victoria? The Young Victoria. It's about Queen Victoria. Okay, Queen Victoria. Basically, there's a statement, and it says, "Don't confuse stubbornness with strength." I was watching the movie. Okay, don't confuse stubbornness with strength. And all of a sudden, you know, I'm thinking about people that I work with. You know, that people want to appear very strong, but they really cross the line to being stubborn. I was like, I'm going to write that down. And I wrote it down, and today I'm sharing it with you. Okay, it was from a movie, simple movie. But, you know, I had to pull my phone out, and some people looked or whatever. You know, I just put it in my phone. Okay, so you can be exposed to new things, okay, from almost anything. All right, guys? All right, very good. So to kind of finalize this point, we're going to say here, other principles on exposure to new ideas. Okay, now here's a big one, okay? If I cannot collect the idea, exposure to me is useless because most likely I will not remember it, okay? So what I mean by this is let's say I heard this, don't confuse stubbornness with strength. I can guarantee you 200% I would forget it, okay? So if I cannot collect it, if let's say they say go to the seminar but you can't have a pen and paper or a phone, I honestly wouldn't go because I'm going to forget 99% of it, you know what I mean? Unless I want to meet somebody, you know, I just wouldn't go. So this is something I practice. I don't know if you would share that with me, but I just wanted to share that with you guys, all right? And then this is also very, very huge. This is huge, okay? Am I willing to pay for exposure? Okay? All right. And the word here is, do I have a budget for my personal growth? Okay? I'm not very good with budgets, but I'm working on that. That's something I'm growing in. So, but in our budget, you know, we have something for everything, right? For food, for drink. Do we have a line item of how much we're investing in ourselves? Okay? And this is not to get fishing poles or whatever. You know what I mean? This is growth. What is your budget? How much are you willing to pay for it? Okay, I told you what John Maxwell did. He paid money for it, for exposure. You have to be willing. I mean, whatever your budget is, you know, just think about it. Okay, you know, things don't just come free. You know, so basically, this is a huge in my life. And I say, what is my budget this year? You know, for growth for me. Okay, for me, first it has to start with me, because if I don't grow, my people are not going to grow, my organization is going to grow. This is me. Now, there's another budget for growth for my people. Okay, that's important too, but now I'm talking about me. Okay, guys? And this is not from a selfish standpoint. This is really a way just for us to be able to give.